Hi folks, I know it's been a while. I appreciate your patience on waiting on our YouTube deal. You know I'm entered up with Valor, and it's not an excuse, it's just a fact. And I really enjoy the Valor program. It's been really good. So today I got to cover some noticias. One of them is that gracias a mis amigos en México, tengo mucho respeto por los vaqueros y las familias. México es un país bueno. Por eso, gracias por todo. And I wanted to bring up the fact that something that doesn't get talked about enough, and it literally meant the difference between, we'll never know how many, and I'm going to guess at least thousands of lives were saved by the code talkers from the Navajo Nation. And they were in the Pacific Theater, and a man that had a trading post down there, he came up with the idea and got a hold of a general that brought him out to Pendleton and a couple other places and made up their code in their native language. And they were able to report on ships and planes and submarines and enemy movement. And I mean, how many lives they saved, it's you can't even count it. It was one of the biggest things of the entire Pacific War. So I just want to pay them respect, because they don't get enough respect for what they did. And I got to read their book, and there was a time when they were on the islands, they could just wear their fatigues and take their shirt off and walk right through a Japanese camp, and they'd count what was going on while they walked through there. They'd go in the evening, and they just got away with it, and then they'd come back and report what the deal was on the camp. So they were a big deal. And there's another lady that we need to talk about, and I think she actually had a number of how many people she helped, but what was her name?
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet
She was
Tubman.
during the Civil War, so she was what she called herself, a conductor in the Underground Railroad, and she never lost a passenger.
And the movie was called Moses. I remember the movie, it was really good. And Deb and I, when we were back east, we got to stand at a building. It was an old hotel, and it was part of the Underground Railroad. It was in the north of the Mason-Dixon line. So now our little friend Hannah, she's a young cowgirl that works on the 2-dot up out of Cody. She got Joe, so Joe graduated, and she's going to be using him, so now he's Chief Joseph. That's his real name, but he's been Joe up until now. So he went to a really good hand and a really good home, so that's real good news. And something that reminds me of the girls there in Jimenez Springs, New Mexico, they wrote me a letter, which I appreciate. Anybody can sit down and write a letter, I appreciate. And one of the things they mentioned, it turns out that there's a whole lot of horses, and it's gotten worse forever, is that they're not weaned correctly. They're weaned with a buddy horse or some old dry mare or something, I don't know, instead of just flat out weaning them and don't let them touch any other horse for 2 weeks, which is what I do. Anyway, that Joe horse, that's kind of the way he was. He was never weaned correctly as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't there, but I can tell you I've seen enough of him. He wasn't real sure of himself, and if you wean him right, you'll get him independent. So the girls, they have the same problem, but the deal is, if you've got a gelding like Joe and you got a mare, don't run them together. Don't put them in the same corral, because he'll fall in love with them in a heartbeat. It doesn't mean the horse is proud cut, it just simply means that it falls in love with the other horse. And that's where people get into this deal where they're mothered up and they can't get them away from the barn. So that's just something to remember, is don't let them live together. They're always going to be able to see and smell each other on your outfit, but keep them separate. It's not good to run mares and geldings together on saddle horses. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. Now, the reason I'm sitting here today is because we've got a friend in England, and he does lessons with me over the computer, which, imagine that. So anyway, he wanted to see the particulars verbatim on how I position my skeleton to cue my horse for what I want. So I'm going to go over that today. And basically what I believe is that if you can control the muscles in your spine, the left side and right side of your spine, and you can control your breathing, you can teach a horse to do about anything. So we'll start off with the backup, and what you're going to watch is my left kneecap, and I'll pick up the rein and say, excuse me, that's contact. Well, the horse, he leans towards the hindquarter when I pick up the reins now. That's part of it. That way he's on the hindquarter and lighter in the front end. My knee will come off the horse. You can see my foot move.
Can you do that one more time?
So my knee goes up, and that tightens that quad muscle here, which means underneath my thigh, it goes away from the saddle. Okay, there's 100 ways to teach horses to back up, but this works really good for me. And the main reason is because I do both knees at the exact same time, so that horse knows that when both of them move, that means you're going to go backwards.
Now, can you just do with the kickstand deal that a lot of people do, and they think that they're doing it right, but they're actually putting their thigh against their horse?
Well, one of the other ways of teaching a horse to back up is what you see at Sturgis. That's people doing this. That's how you park a Harley. And what it does is if you move your feet out, you have to push on the bottom of your feet. When you push on the bottom of your feet, you drive your seat bones away from the seat of the saddle. So I know there's people that train horses to stop this way and to back up this way, and they do this. Well, that is one way of doing it. Okay. What I like to do is, and I don't mean to be smart, Alec, but if people have to guess how you got something done, then you're doing it right. It's that subtle. And there again, you guys know me well enough to know that when I'm in a herd working cattle, I have to be a passenger, and I can't be flogging around. And believe it or not, doing this might be just enough to stop some movement. So I always think about the ranch mentality of a horse. So anyway, I'm going to raise my knee up, my spine right above my belt, I dish it. Now I'm sitting like this, and I'm going to change my skeleton for the posture of the backup. Right there. Okay, I'm leaning back not even a half an inch. When I first start, I lean back this far on a colt in a hackamore. So when I pick up this rein and say, excuse me, and I'm going to put all this together, as I want the horse to walk backwards, I simply exhale. And to a horse, that means don't worry about it. It's not a fight. So if a horse doesn't move, then I bump him with my calves to let him know that's what it is. So I'm going to ask the horse to walk backwards. All right, now I'm going to relax my spine, and the horse stops. Now relax my spine. If you can see the dish in it, right here, what'll happen is I'll have my back up, and then I just lower my back down. All right, if you want to really stop like at a lope or something, you sit down like that. But anyway, I can just stop a horse walking backwards. Like if I'm working a cow and I need to stop, I just sit down, and now I need the hindquarter. So it starts off as a colt reaching way back there and banging them over. And when it's over, now I told you I lean back for the reverse, so I lean forward to move the hindquarter. So now I've displaced my weight. Well, on this horse, that's the cue. He knows that he's going to move his hindquarter. So when I pick up the rein, I lean forward and I simply move my leg back 1 inch. And I ask my horse to move his hindquarter. Now watch, my legs stayed, or excuse me, my calf stayed on the entire time. So then I take my calf off and the horse stops. And of course I released here. So there's two ways of looking at this, and everybody gets to do what they want. But there's certain moves that I do where I leave my calf on the horse. There's other moves where I bump them. And it typically comes down to what I'm doing with my horse at the time, whether I'm just moving around a sagebrush or if I'm trying to cut out pears or something. So the reality of a hindquarter moving is moving the foot back right now that far. That's how far I move my foot. So I sit up and I say, excuse me, and I move my leg back, and my horse moves his hindquarter. So I'll sit up, move my leg back, and my horse moves his hindquarter. I don't allow him to walk forward.
Okay, I want to line up with you and have you move your leg back one more time. I want to be on the sunny side. Hold on just a second.
Just tell me where to be.
Okay, so.
You want me facing you?
No, just move your leg back like you're going to move his hindquarter. How far do you do it?
That far.
There. That's not much.
And that's not even picking up on him.
Yeah.
It's just simply moving my leg. Well, when I'm working cattle, I've already told you, you know, there's this position of the rein, which is nothing. And then there's the excuse me side. And then there's the serious gait working side. The point is, when I pick up my rein, he's waiting for the signal. That's why you see him moving around. And you know, I've heard this all my life. Somebody will say, you gotta know what buttons to push. Well, that's literally true. Okay, so somebody can get on my horse and he just wanders off because they don't know what buttons to push. Well, that's the way I trained my horse, was these buttons. And I'm just sharing them with you because my partner there in England wanted to hear about it. So now the forehand.
He's in Germany.
The hell he is. He must have moved. Well, he used to be in England. He's in Germany. All right, the forehand, if you can work with me, I'll show you from this direction. Your right shoulder is how you turn the forehand to the right. And what happens is when you raise your shoulder, you push down your left seat bone. So if you roll your left calf at the same time, you now put all the pressure on this side of the horse. And because I don't move my foot back, that's what moves the front end. So I say, excuse me, I look where I want to go, and I ask my horse to move. I'll look where I want to go, and he'll move my horse over. But something to note, when you're working a cow, or yearlings, or whatever you're working in a corral. Now, I mean, whenever I say in a corral, I like working cattle in a big corral. I don't like alleyways. It's not good for anything. But I think the alleyway deal came about because people are in a hurry. They got to get back to mommy. Well, I don't. So, anyway, what'll happen in a corral is your job is this way. I keep my horse in collection. He knows the cow I want, and so all I do is just watch it with my head, just like a cutter does. And then my body is moving with the horse. The horse already knows which critter I want. But if you try to do the old neck reining thing, you're always going to be late, period. So the end game for what I'm telling you is a horse working on a ranch. Okay, so now I need to go to my left, and I look. I drop my right seat bone. I over-exaggerate. You can see me exaggerating. I'll say, excuse me, I'll turn my foot out, and I'll say, I need you to turn. Now what he's starting to do, you'll notice he kind of skipped. Well, he's learning to not cross over in the front, and he's learning to lope in a circle. By the end of the year, I probably have it, but the point is I wanted to move the forehand. So now you got forehand, hindquarter, and backing. So I'm just going to talk as I go through the logs, and I hope that helps him out over there. So I've got pretty good contact. You can see my palm controls all the way up here. My hand's down in what I call the gate position. So I look where I want to go and I roll my calf and I keep it hanging where it naturally hangs, and that's side passing. All right? I look where I want to go, and by turning my foot straight out, that gives the horse the direction I want. If I would raise my left shoulder, I would want him to turn. If I want him to side pass, I keep my torso straight and just turn my head and move my foot out.
Have you also dropped your seat bone a little bit?
Yeah, my right seat bone is down. Now I'm going to pick up my left shoulder right now. And I'm going to lean forward, move the hindquarter over, and pick up the next log. Well, this horse has done this so many times I chilled him on it. In other words, I could go sit down and he'd side pass the logs, but it's borderline resentment, so I'm not going to do it a lot. But the point is, that's how I work my skeleton to ask my horse to do what I want. Sideways, hindquarter, forehand. Now, if I put more pressure on, I just simply speed the horse up. Now, the word more pressure on, I haven't had to actually touch his hide with a spur in a long time. Really long time. Because he understands what it is I want. And that's why when you talk about bits and mouthpieces and everything else, all you need is something that's comfortable and works as a really good signal. That's what the spade bit is. A Western bit, it's the same thing. It's all about the curb strap, and the angle of the cheek helps the horse get in collection. That's why it's designed the way it is. The snaffle bit, if you choose to ride a snaffle as opposed to hackamore, it gives them something to roll the cricket and then have a direct line to the corner of the mouth. Okay, what's really important is your skeleton taking over. Your hands are simply kindergarten. Your skeleton is when your horse is on the payroll. So that's how I feel about this. So I can do my spine, my muscles on my back now, and I'll just simply relax my muscles right now. I'm just relaxing my back. Now I'll pick up the energy, sit up higher, and he'll walk faster. Now I'm going to relax my muscles. Now I'm going to stop. Walk backwards. Look right. Look left. Walk backwards. Forward. Hindquarter. Left shoulder looking. Hindquarter, forehand. So I hope that helps out. The point is that when you ride well, as far as I'm concerned, you use less hand and more skeleton. And the horse appreciates it.
There's one thing I'd like you to also cover, and that's the length of your stirrups.
Okay, you can see the bent knee. Isn't that thing? Everywhere I go, people got their feet up here. And I think that's, I don't know, what I've seen it come from is the Amarillo Quarter Horse Association, where they jack them up because they're getting in the dirt so deep on them cutting horses.
And their horses are 13 hands.
Yeah, and they push and pull. It's a whole different world. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Also, when you used to start colts, you used to raise your stirrups a little bit for that first ride.
One hole, because I wanted to be able to, if something fell apart, I wanted to have a little more, be able to throw my feet forward.
Got it.
And then now I try to ride as long a stirrup as I can. That's why I like dressage saddles, because you literally have more leg on the horse.
Right. And you're also not pushing your seat bones away from the saddle.
No, it's a... But every clinic I do, I end up telling 2 people out of 5, which is the only people I take is 5 in a clinic. At least 2 of them, I talk them into dropping their stirrups. And Deb, when we met, you rode a short stirrup because of the flat saddle world.
I was riding English. And a lot of people, they're always telling us, oh, I'm too used to riding a short stirrup, so I can't ride a longer stirrup, and that's not true. If you drop your stirrups like one hole every ride, pretty soon you'll be down where it belongs and you won't even notice.
That's right. And then riding outside, you want your legs down there.
Yeah.
You don't want to be up in the air. Horse jumps, you automatically, the knee-jerk deals, you push on the bottom of your feet. Well, you just propelled yourself another 3 feet.
It's also, I will add, easier to get on from the ground.
Yeah, there is that. You don't have the mounting block on wheels that you haul around the pasture.
Now, I want to go back one more time to the girls, the little girls that we love from New Mexico. They're not from Montana. We have to clarify that. That was a mistake. But anyway, I just flashed in my mind, one of the things you've always said, if you have a barn sour horse or a buddy sour horse, if you're going to get out and ride by yourself, you don't just walk along. You would try to trot, get moving, get the horse interested in something else. Can you?
Yeah, because then they got to be paying attention where their feet are landing, and they don't have time to fall into sin. That's why when you wrangle horses on the ranch, you don't bring them in at a walk.
Right.
Because if you're in the timber, they're going to scatter. So yeah, that's another part of it.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you.
I think that's all that we had. So we've thanked Hannah. Do we need any more shout outs to anybody? Did you want to say hey to anybody that you've been talking to?
Well, if any of my buddies at Valor see this, I want to say hi. I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm looking forward to getting there.
We miss Randy and Joshua and Matt.
Everybody. We got to see Big Mike last time.
We want to say hey to Aaron. He's the expert.
He's the expert. He's kind of leading the crew right now. And I got to tell you, folks, it's a really, really good thing to get to go back there and be in the presence of them folks. And the sheriff, he cut me a free rein, so it makes it really nice.
I suppose we should say hey to the sheriff.
Sheriff and all the guards that are always really good people.
We love Officer DeLuca.
Anyway, there's a lot of...
And Ryan.
Ryan, cowboy / guard. He's a good hand.
Yeah, he is.
So...
Colt, we got to say hey to Colt. Hopefully he's over his sickness. Poor guy.
Yeah. You got to really pick where you go to eat. So, anyway, everything's good. Thank God, literally. And Deb and I are just glad to see spring here. And I hope the people in the southeast are done flooding. We're drought out and we don't care. And we'll talk to you later.
Up here, we've got some flowers on our peach trees.
Yeah, we got another 4 days of green grass and it's over.
All right, I guess that wraps it up.
Get your little pouch.